Tractor splits going back together. Talk about some of the stuff we ran into. If you got an L295, some of these things might help you out. Anyway, unfortunately I wasn't here when the motor was getting put together. Had a couple issues I had to deal with, and so I was not able to be there when the motor was going together. I was going to try and get a video of that, but unfortunately it wasn't. So, but I was here when we put the tractor back together. Lining up the bolts for this front differential can be quite difficult. You're going to have to twist everything this way and back and forth, and you just get them in one at a time. You know, really good to have a tap, because you're going to need it. That front axle on the DT double traction unit is, I don't know if the other one might be hard too, but the double traction is definitely a challenge. So anyway, we got the stuff back together, put on a new belt, went ahead and had the radiator checked. There was something kissed the radiator in the front, probably had some stop leak in there, and it had worked its way out of there, so we just had it soldered up. The radiators are like $300 for these, so it was in good shape and really heavy. It's a really heavy duty radiator, unlike the old cars and stuff like that. These 80s Kubotas, man, they were really good radiators in them. So yeah, I do have somebody ask about that the plug is in here, and it is still. You got to have that rubber plug there, and then it also helps to have the steering wheel on this, because it can't get water down in here, because it'll just goes down to the bottom, and then all the oil floats in your steering column, and it starts to come apart when it starts to rust. So I'm going to take care of that. So anyway, the other thing we were fixing here was the gear shift. So if your gear shift is loose, if you notice your gear shift being really loose, what we did is took this apart, and under here there's like three little nubs with, with a spring below them. We just stretched out all the springs, and then makes it so that this was nice and tight again. So it was, because otherwise it'd pop out of gear. We had that issue. We were just pulling it in the shop here. So if your shifter's doing that, that might be something you want to look at. We did put the new clutch in. We still got to put the starter in it. Yeah, then the other thing I found here, and I think it's right. What? The other thing we found on this is my cable's broken for the tack, or whatever it is, the tack and hour meter. So I wanted to go ahead and fix that up while we had it apart. And it looks to me like on eBay they don't list this one, but they list the L295, which also, I believe that motor is also a D1301, which if you look on here, that's your engine number. So I found out that has the same engine number as this one. So I looked at the part really closely for the cable, and it looks like it should go right in. So stay tuned on the next video, and if there's an issue with that, I'll be letting you guys know that are trying to rebuild yours. A lot of the parts aren't available, but when I was at the Kubota dealer, he said, man, that's back in the day when they were making good, strong tractors, better than even the ones they make now. So that was good news. So these old ones are really tough. I'm also going to be, I think we got this thing here bolted on, I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess it is. This here was rusted, so I put on a stuff called, it's actually a rust converter. on here, and you can see all the rust is all dead black. And then I'll be putting a new seat cover on here. They do have an aftermarket seat if you want to buy it. They're not too expensive, but I'm going to go ahead and just make a new seat cover for this. It's really not too hard to do. I have a commercial sewing machine, so I'm just going to make one real quick, put a new piece of foam on there, make it nice. So we're going ahead. Yeah, we gave these a little paint. There's flaws in it. There's runs and stuff. Trying to paint behind these tires. You know, I could have taken them off and did it all, but I didn't really want to do all that. I'm not trying to make a show tractor. I'm trying to make one that works. So, but I don't want it to look like pink like it did. Well, it's not because what happened is the reason it was pink like that is, see the other videos, it had a lot of rust on the surface rust, and there's a lot of chip paint, and really bad. So I went ahead and painted it with Rust-Oleum once, and that turned pink. So if you have that problem, you got to go with really an automotive paint, and then put clear on it. Like, unless you can get a single stage urethane, works pretty good too. But I just use a base coat, clear coat, because that's what I had laying around. I just used some leftover material. So yeah, it's going back together. The block, they do have liners. You can buy a kit, engine kit from China with liners in it. When we pulled ours apart, you know, it has the Kubota Japanese steel. So there was literally no wear on the bore, and I'm not trying to get 100% new rebuild out of this thing. I just want it to be tight and run good. It's not like I use it every day, so we went through and just honed it out real quick, and then put the new pistons in. We used the Kumar tractor kit. You can order it right from Kumar Tractor, and they make the D1301 kit for the engine. So you got to almost ask them for it because it's not on their website, and you have to order the bearings, and the bearings and everything, they ended up being right. So I was a little bit misinformed on that when I was looking at it before. They did give me all the right stuff. So anyway, trying to think here. We did put a new thermostat on. This one happens to have, if you've got one, this has the early water pump on it. So you need to make sure if you're going to order a water pump for yours, if you have the early or late, the early one looks small like this. The late one has a real long pump. And I had to order this from like Michigan or something like that because nobody had it. They have them in China too, but if you look on the eBay, it's about the easiest place to find them. That's where I found mine. So went ahead and put a new one in. The bearings were a little noisy on the other one. I could feel it's time to do it. So put all new coolant in it, and we're all done, and should be good to go. Yeah, it's going to be, I can't wait to use it once I get done. I think this is, you know, this system right here is tractor fluid, but I still haven't been able to look that up. I haven't had time to look up and see if that is, but I'm pretty sure that is tractor fluid that goes in here. So, and I need to refill that whole system, and it was like over about 5 gallons or so. And it was really dirty. So if you've got one of these, you might want to empty that out. And it's this hose right here. When you do your split, or you can maybe take the bottom of this thing off, I'm not sure. But right here when you do the split, this hose comes off. So, and it leaks for days. It'll leak just a little dribble for like 2 or 3 days. So, and put a big pail under there, at least 5 gallons, because it's going to leak for a long time. So, and then I'm going to refill it. So I got to find out exactly what fluid goes in there. I think it is tractor fluid, but I don't know. It's what was in there was almost like gear oil kind of, but it wasn't like transmission fluid. So I'm not sure, and it didn't feel like hydraulic oil, something different. So I'll find out what that is. If you know, put it in the comments. You guys who are looking, read the comments, check it out. So yeah, most of the stuff's pretty well good. we're going to hook up all the wiring, and hopefully I'll get a video on how that stuff's working, because I couldn't find anything on that anywhere. So some of you guys are just looking at this because you don't know anything, and I certainly didn't see any videos or anything on it. So I'm just trying to give you guys a little bit of information so that you're not maybe guessing as much when you do yours. But yeah, oh, another thing, really key thing, if you're doing your engine, I did buy one of those manuals because I was hoping it might have a few things like, you know, the timing marks, which I think we figured out that they were just one tooth off. All of them were the same. So went ahead and got that. We got the manual, and I did find that all the torque specs, almost everything for the engine, the rods, the crank, and all that were totally wrong. So you have to almost go back to old school method of, you know, look at the bolt, figure out. I think we figured out to torque everything at 30 foot-pounds. Anything tighter than that, you're stretching bolts. So I had to replace one of the rod bolts because we stretched it, because we went by the spec. It was like 38 pounds. When we hit 30, it was good. Go to 38 and stretch the bolt, so I had to order a new rod bolt. So be careful on those torque specs for the bottom end, because they're all wrong in all the books and everywhere I could find. Totally, nothing was making any sense. In fact, Kumar Tractor gave us their specs and the crank. Yeah, I think I wrote them. No, that's from my truck. I had them written down, and I got them all. I printed it from the email from Kumar Tractor and Kumar USA. They have on their website the torque specs, and again, like I said, those are wrong. There's no way you tighten them up to those torque specs and you're going to have stretched bolts, and then you're going to have to go to Kubota and get new ones. They're available. The new bolts have a different style to them than the old ones, so maybe they would take the higher torques, but the ones I took off mine didn't, and they didn't look like they were stretch bolts where they're one-time use. And, you know, they didn't have those kind of torque specs, so you shouldn't need to replace them. You know, I mean, if you want to, that's up to you, but kind of expensive. It's $6 each, and you know, you got 3 cylinders. That's 12 times 6 is, you know, a little bit of money for some new bolts. If you want to do it, go for it. But I think if you just go with that, that's what we found. 30 foot-pounds for the crank, 30 foot-pounds for the rods, and we found 30 foot-pounds for the I don't know what we used on the main bolts that hold the crank rings, because if you look at one of these going apart, it's weird. The crankshaft all slides out like a cam, and then there's main bearings on each one of the journals, and then you have to tighten those up and then slide it all in, and you have to have the pistons out to do that. You know, you can't put the pistons in until you slide the whole crank in. Not like a regular engine where you could drop the crank in. It doesn't work that way, and I think it's because the engine block is part of the, you know, structure of the tractor, so that makes it stronger. That's what made sense to me, because if you had main journals underneath, then you'd be taking away strength inside that block, and it wouldn't be as strong. So anyway, I think that's why they do it that way, but it seems kind of weird. So yeah, anyway, should be a nice new tractor when it's done, and everything should be working good. This one has the loader and the backhoe, which, no, I'm not selling my backhoe. That's why I bought this thing. It's like, I wanted a backhoe. I wanted a smaller tractor with a backhoe on it. It took me almost a year to find one with the backhoe on it, and it was a little bit bigger. I would have wanted the L245, would have been fine, or the, you know, but the L295 is all I could find, and it just, you know, I was looking for backhoe tractor, you know, smaller tractor that I could put in a dump trailer. I didn't want like a full-size tractor. So anyway, that's some basic things. If I think of anything else, I'll put it in another part of the video, or another video. And yeah, it's going back together good. And those are just a few little pointers that I ran into, things that we ran into while we're doing it. So I'll talk to you in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe.